How in the world can you ever look at me with a straight face and say, I make your life harder?
I just made his harder.
How can you look at me with a straight face
Is the camera on?
and have a single complaint about it? Oh my gosh. I think I'm just not used to how much you haven't changed. I thought you would change a little bit.
Stop. No, I'm still a child. Hey, I am Josh Cooper, and this guy is Jeremy Dunn.
Yes, I am.
And we have a guest on today's episode of How Stupid People Succeed.
The legendary
Michael Augenstein.
Thanks for having me back, question mark?
Back. An alumni.
Do you remember the first time we had Mike?
Yes, I do. It's epic.
It was epic.
Yes.
Yes, it was first week of COVID pretty much. Second week of COVID.
Yeah.
Back in 2020.
And the original studio, the OG studio.
Oh, yeah.
May it rest in peace.
Yes, it was.
I think it was March 20th,
Smelled like
Are you
cigars.
serious?
2020.
Oh, wow. We're like, wow, that's crazy.
320.
That's almost 3 years ago.
3 years ago? Oh my gosh, it's nuts.
What's changed in 3 years?
Everything.
Nothing. It's all the same.
And everything.
And everything.
Nothing and everything.
So the format today is
We're going to talk to our friend Mike.
we get to ask Mike questions.
We're going to grill Mike with questions, and he has to answer them.
He has to answer them.
This is my house.
It's a beautiful house.
So you
by
can
the way.
kick us out after you answer the questions in the podcast. But you can't kick us out before. That's
How do you build a 4,200 square foot house on how many acres?
How do you even say
Five?
this right now?
5 acres?
No.
2?
2.63.
2.63 acres. What do you think that would go for in today's market? I mean, I can tell you.
$20.
Pretty much.
To be fair, Michael, if you know any of the stats on Josh's house, you can start calling them out now.
Stop. He doesn't. And let's not talk about
More
This is
square
about
footage.
Mike.
More
This-
square
This is
footage.
about Mike. Mike, thanks for joining us, big guy.
He's regretting every moment of it right now.
Is this where I'm supposed to say thanks for having me?
No, I don't think you should lie on camera. I think you should be honest. Like, I regret this decision.
So we have a pretty cool trip coming up here in a couple months.
We do.
Ooh, what is the trip? Ooh, I want to know. Can I go?
You are going.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm happy.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to play everything but Pebble Beach golf
We
links.
will play Pebble Beach. You have to believe.
You gotta have faith.
You gotta have faith. So we're going out to California, Monterey, California, to play some of the courses around the world famous Pebble Beach. Because Josh and I are turning 40 this year, and we thought, what better way than to demonstrate how bad we still are at golf at a very expensive golf course. Whilst out there, we have to try to get lucky and call Pebble Beach and try to get on Pebble Beach.
So if you know anyone who has some insight on how we could actually play Pebble Beach without staying on the resort, because Jeremy found us a pretty kick-ass Airbnb, or is it a VR?
Oh, we're cussing on the podcast now. That's a PG-13. We got up there.
Turbo?
Share, like, subscribe, tag, Pebble Beach.
Pebble Beach.
Let's get a free round.
Yeah. Maybe we will do a vlog of us playing Pebble Beach.
That's awful. How about a podcast?
You know how fun that would be of watching this guy golf with you?
Because we would outplay you, and then you would be really mad.
Listen, even in my bum state right now where I can't move, I would still beat you.
But I have outplayed you before, and you were there to experience
For
it.
a couple holes, yes.
For the entire 18, I outplayed you.
Are you drunk?
No.
So
but I was then, and I think it's what helped me.
March 1st was my first time out on a course, and I didn't hate it.
No, you did great. You were awesome.
Yeah. Did you know this?
I just found out.
Played Oakhaven yesterday, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so what's the question, Josh? Hit him.
Mike, with everything that's going on with you in 3 years, obviously a good friend of ours, Jeremy Dunn, has moved away to the Peninsula State, the Panhandle State.
That's Texas or Oklahoma.
No, that's the Panhandle.
I don't know what state you're talking about. Nobody knows what you guys are talking about right now.
Oklahoma has a panhandle.
It does, you're right. I might have been wrong in that opening. My bad.
You think?
That's the Peninsula
What do they
State.
call the...
They call it the panhandle.
It is a panhandle.
But nobody
Jag
says the
of Florida.
panhandle
But it's a
state.
peninsula.
What's the jag that comes off
Peninsula.
under Georgia?
I couldn't
No,
say it.
it's not under. It's under Mississippi and Alabama, and it touches Louisiana. It's called the Panhandle.
Listen,
The
he
peninsula
lives in
of Florida
He knows. He knows.
On the east side.
It's all
At least
about-
get it right.
Yeah, come on, get it right. So with everything that's happened in life in the last 3 years, obviously going through COVID. You actually had a job change through that process as well, correct?
No, I had changed jobs.
Was it before COVID?
Before COVID, yeah. 3 months BC.
Good research, Josh. Way to set up your question.
It was right about
Close.
that time.
Yeah.
Can you just get to your question and not state any more geographic falsies?
Oh my gosh. It's like I have a geography degree. Can you throw like a map up, Zach? Anyway, so of the last 3 years, what is your one takeaway that you walk away 3 years later and like, hey, I'm better in this area of life and why?
Golf.
Is that true?
I don't know. You
witnessed this yesterday.
He looked good yesterday, but I don't have the comparison over the last 3 years.
You asked a question and I answered it. Golf. Why? Because I played more and I bought new everything.
That does add pressure. I will say that does make you take it a lot more serious and be like, okay, now I need to get good. Because I don't want to be the guy at the course with nice stuff that can't play. Yeah. That guy is always not welcome.
Yeah, that's me.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I already broke my brand new Callaway Epic Max.
Did you break that?
I'm not sure I understand.
They're always listening.
We felt the same way.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy finished it, but I feel like it started sounding weird last fall.
Mike's a good friend because he didn't blame me for breaking his club.
No.
But I definitely was the final swing in breaking the club.
Yeah, his swing speed of 109 miles an hour did it in.
It's what my swing speed's faster than that. Come on. It's pretty fast. Just wait, buddy. Just wait. You're going to learn.
So here's what I found out. These new carbon fiber clubs, drivers, they're not made to smash more than a little bit and then they fall apart. So that's cool. They're more expensive.
They sound different.
Don't last as long.
I don't know if that's true, is it?
That's what I'm hearing.
From who?
The people wanting to sell me a Callaway Paradigm.
Exactly.
How much is one of those?
$600.
Oh.
For another club to prove how bad you are at golf. And I'm not saying you, I'm saying rhetorically, like,
Yeah, no, that's true.
I'm bad at golf, so I'll take that one.
So yeah, that's one area. Another area that I'm better at, is that what you said? I mean, I was only 3 months into a new job, so I kind of felt like I was drinking out of a fire hose, so I feel like I know how to do my job pretty
That's
well
good.
now.
Yeah.
But it's also government work, so does it really matter?
It does matter. Government work's more important than anything else.
Oh my gosh, you're such a Boy Scout. I love it.
So says the township trustee.
Township trustee, Mike Augenstein, Waldo Township, keeping everybody in line.
So this is now a public record.
2024.
Good job. Can't delete it.
Yeah, we've talked about your real estate holdings. We've talked about your employment. What's your social, Mike? Share that with the people.
237-4913.
Yeah,
So
I pray
what's
to God you're
something-
joking.
so
You
what's-
didn't really just say that, right? That's a joke?
So what's something
Okay.
you want to ask us? How about that?
Some poor person
are you
with
okay
a
with that?
239 social is just getting their ID ripped apart right now.
Yeah, no doubt. You guys have been able to still stay pretty connected. You guys are pretty intentional about talking to each other and seeing each other.
Yeah.
Why on God's green earth would you do that?
And notice how I looked at you and asked you that question. Just the great,
Most of our listeners would agree with that, though.
the great friend inside joke. Why does anybody friends with Jeremy Dunn? Go ahead, Josh. Answer away.
You know, that's a great question, Michael.
Yeah, because you know
Thank
me,
for
I don't
asking.
call anyone.
You don't. You're pretty bad at it, actually. You did call me the other day, though. I was
Really?
Yeah.
Did I have a question about golf?
You asked me if I was downtown. Yes, actually, it was a golf question. What sand wedge should I get?
That was it.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I felt honored you would call me, though.
Yeah.
So, you know, Jeremy and I think we have a pretty good friendship, right? You know, we go back a long way.
We do.
We like to give each other a hard time. I like to give you a hard time.
What were you going to say?
I like to give you a hard time a lot. Obviously, you know I do it in a lot of jest. But, you know, there's, you know, speaking in a friendship type of way,
Okay.
there's not a lot of people in life that you know that you want to do life with long term, right? And so, like, we're very fortunate that, in this household right now, we have people that I'm honored to be able to do life with, and I want it to be long term. And obviously having one of my best friends move away to Tampa was not super easy for me, and but being really intentional about maintaining that relationship, because even when he was here, it was worthwhile. Even when he's gone, it's still worthwhile. But having that, I don't really know a better word for it, but maybe like I think the term gets overused in the church circle, but like just like a fellowship and communion that you have with someone you've had for a decade plus, just being intentional about having that continue and develop.
Did that hurt to say that? Did you dig that deep?
No.
Good. Well, so you've gotten better at some things in over 3 years.
Yeah.
That's good.
I have an emotion from time to time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a big part of the determination. These are going to be relationships that stick. And I think a big part of that is we've done enough life together in terms of the good times and the bad times on all levels. And we come back to a level of trust and care and love that I've only found in random one-offs in my life. And as an adult, I don't think I'll ever fully replace. So I think it's the value of what you guys mean to me, what you mean to my family, and it's something I want to protect and work toward. And I think anybody within their own circle, whatever circle they kind of run in, you have to be intentional. So we all have life, we all have careers, we all have stuff going on, we all have family, we all have issues. But so many of those life moments, good or bad, are going to be bigger than us. And who's there to help you carry the weight? And I will say, Josh, Mike, some of the other guys that are around, they've always stepped up and helped me carry the weight and have been motivating to me. So I think, and if I'm talking specifically in the last 3 years, with what I've been through and what Josh went through, his strength through his struggle fueled me to be strong in mine. And it was something that I drew so much personal motivation from that I needed in such a big way. And I will say, our relationship, and I'm just going to speak honestly, but our relationship to that point was I was always a little bit more of like the big brother. And I would say through that season, he took the lead and ran with something that I needed to see. And you never know when those moments are going to happen in your life, but when they do, you're so thankful for the extra work, the extra travel, the extra time that you put in to keep those people close, because it is work. It's not a priority. His family, his job, all that stuff, that's the priority. And somewhere along the line, we have to be disciplined enough that we can manage ourselves to keep those things, top of mind.
I think one thing that I think about is just in life in general, right? So I say, hey, Mike, let's go golf. You're like, yeah, let's do it. But if we aren't intentional about setting the time and putting that expectation out there of when it's going to happen, it just doesn't happen. And so that's one thing, even in just my professional journey, but personal journey as well, is if we're not doing that, it just doesn't happen. So being really mindful about those things. And that's one thing that I missed tremendously when you were here. You were exceptional at that. You were exceptional at getting everyone together, getting them, going, doing whatever, hanging out, doing whatever. And that's one thing that I'm sure Mike would probably echo the same thing. Is like, we lack that tremendously here now, because in hindsight, we always relied on you to organize that stuff, and which was super awesome and nice. Because that's who you are. Right?
Yeah.
So you're like, hey, come over and do this. So we show up just like we did tonight, right? So we show up. There's beverages. There's steak. There's vegetables. You gotta hit your vegetables. There's snacks. There's guacamole.
Yeah, Mike's a great host. Phenomenal. Him and Julie are amazing.
Absolutely. And so that's one. But honestly, like that's what we don't we don't do that now because you're not here. And like speaking for Mike, like we need to be more intentional about that to preserve the friendships that you helped cultivate and the group that you helped cultivate when you were here.
Yeah, for me, I know exactly where that comes from. My dad had 3 younger brothers, and I grew up watching their relationship, and I was always so envious of how close they all were and how close they still are. And they truly have modeled for me, and my mom's side of the family is phenomenal, but I think Dad, with the male bond side of things and his 3 brothers and what that really means and what that really looks like, I literally had the picture perfect example growing up my whole life. And I have a younger sister and I love her to death, but I always wanted that brother element. And so through my life, there's definitely been relationships that I've welcomed into that fold in a way. And like with you guys, once that happens, then that's what I want. And I grew up in a big family where events, there's always everybody there, all the food you can think of. And so for me now as an adult, it felt very natural to me, but I know it was kind of like satisfying that void of seeing my dad and his uncles have this amazing relationship, because even though I'm still a knucklehead, I was a much bigger knucklehead when I was younger, and my grandfathers, my dad, and my uncles all played a tremendous role in me not going completely off the reservation. And I also felt that was a huge important part of my children, because there will be a conversation that you can't have with somebody that I may be able to have, and vice versa. There may be a moment down the road that you guys can check off into my son Anchor a way that he'll never hear me, because I can tell you right now, I love my dad. He was a great model of a man, and a lot of that stuff stayed with me when I was older, but in the time I wasn't hearing a single word he said. But I was never ever ever going to disappoint my uncles or my grandfathers. And so when I think about that aspect of family and strength, I saw it modeled on such a crazy level that now that I'm older and I have kids of my own and stuff like that, like that's what I want to give them. The fact that my kids call you uncle means the world to me, because what we're doing is we're not just fostering support for each other, but we're also fostering a longevity in the character of who our children are and who we are together sharing in those moments.
Pros and cons. Tampa, Florida versus Marion, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio.
Marion.
Pros and cons, like, okay, so which one am I going with? Like, so pros for each and cons for each?
Why not? Compare and contrast.
Marion, cost of living, number 1.
How real are you going to be
What do you mean?
with this list?
I'll be 100% real, yeah.
Okay.
So I think 1, cost of living. 2, the one thing about Marion that people miss is being in a smaller community. The one thing they miss is the asset of resource availability. So in a smaller community, if you're determined and you're a semi-polite person and a good person, you have access to every level of that community. So when I was here, I was in the nonprofit world and I was in the for-profit world at the same time. And I had different connections, both government, both private, church-wise, all across the community. In Tampa, that's just impossible because of scale. So you have to pick your scale. So one of the things I really enjoyed about Marion that I will say as a pro is you can implement something and see the effects of that much more quickly and feel more, not in control. Control's the wrong word, but much more like you're making an impact, you're making a contribution in that particular arena. Then in Tampa, it's just so overwhelming because it's bigger, right? Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, the pro with Tampa is weather, location. I'm 20 minutes away from an international airport. I'm 20 minutes away from some of the world's best beaches. The accessibility of everything is just off the charts. And so that's where obviously
year-round golf.
Yeah, year-round golf, that sort of thing. Yeah,
that sort of thing.
But I will say I think certain people miss aspects of being in Marion that I feel like are more valuable that I experience that they just don't even pay attention to. And I will say, if you're trying to behave big city, little city, you're just going to miss it. You have to just own what it is and recognize what it is and be objective enough to know what is your contribution within that environment and how can you manage it. So like right now, my life is way more simple in terms of profession and schedule than it was when I was here. But because down there,
You're doing everything here.
I was doing everything here,
Yes.
which I loved. You just can't do that in Tampa. But I will say the personal impact of people's lives that I had was more impactful here than it was in Tampa. So yes, you say, "Oh, Jeremy's in Tampa now." Yeah, that's cool. But there's also the personal satisfaction side of it, and I feel like when I made my move, I had satisfied that in myself, and I could walk away from it knowing I had made that contribution to my home community, and I had kind of like given back in a way. And then now I can be in Tampa and kind of do my thing in Tampa, because most people don't know I lived in Florida already for 7 years. So it's kind of returning back to like what felt good to me as an adult, and it wasn't like this just, left turn abandonment in a way.
It's a good question.
Great question. So that's my turn for a question for you. So I'm in town because I lost my grandmother, but recently you lost your father. And I will say the one thing I've heard about that is, in most cases, dad, especially if the grandparents aren't around, he's the one you call, or he's kind of the comfort or the backstop or the check-in or whatever. So life without dad, how are you trying to work through that?
Yeah, so
Because there's no handbook, right? It's tough. You got to experience it.
the list of people who have known me my entire life just got smaller. And to your point, like for me, my dad was always there. Like I tell people I had a Norman Rockwell childhood. I grew up on a farm. He was a stay-at-home dad, basically. I mean, the business was at our house, so every day I'd get home from school and he was there. He never went off on business trips. So he was just there every day. I joke that he was also my phone-a-friend on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah.
Because he was super smart.
Yeah.
Should have been a history professor. Extremely knowledgeable. So just the ability to be like, "Hey, Dad, who was the second vice president's third cousin?" And he would know. It's just like,
just crazy.
how do you
stuff.
know that? Yeah. But so as a family, we all are definitely. You definitely lost a chunk of some, really important piece of your life, and I think it'll be tough. This first year of doing the farming without him will be pretty tough. It'll be a constant reminder. So but we don't have any regrets. That's kind of nice. We fought really hard to try and save him. He died of what we believe he died of abdominal aortic aneurysm that burst. And he was 11 days from getting the surgery to fix it. So that's tough, But then, of course, you believe I guess it was meant to be. After the fact, it's so crazy. Like, you fight like crazy to save him, and then it's like, okay, how do you reconcile that we should have been able to save him?
Right.
And going through that, we have a really close family. Everybody's local for the most part, so it's that's handy. So that's kind of what you're experiencing is when you move away, then you're not right there for the whole process. So
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
Too, because obviously, I was able to come to the viewing. And it's just everything that you were going through, it was very difficult. It's not something I can turn around and I can be there in 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
It's I have to book a flight. I might be able to be there in 48 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, my situation with my grandmother, because it was my grandmother, that took priority. But in most situations, it's not easy to be flexible.
Yeah, so I definitely count myself as blessed. I had a great day with him the day before he died. I took him to the urologist. really thankful for that time, and was also actually thankful. Kind of a shout out to our Marion Tech family is really that. Like, we really are a family. And I happened to be at a Christmas party. My dad was diagnosed with the AAA, I think around December 5th. And we had a Christmas party kind of early on, like maybe 10 days later. It was roughly like the 15th of December. And I happened to be talking to one of the instructors of our anatomy and physiology class and biology class. And I said, how bad is a 7-centimeter AAA? And he said, you shouldn't be here right now. You should spend every minute you can with your dad. And that was the first time I heard any kind of real honesty, because God bless him. I think it's a good thing that the doctors at Riverside were like, yeah, I mean, he's moderate risk, but it'll be fine. We'll probably we'll get him fixed up. So I think there's so much value to knowing that it may not work out okay, and I hadn't really thought of that until I had that conversation with him. So I really changed the way I interacted with my dad. My sister and brother and I, we were there a lot, taking care of him. He was in and out of Marion General and Riverside, as well as like 4 rehabilitation facilities. So anyway, like, I flipped, like I said, how I talked to him. I flipped it to, like, I'm not going to let him, we knew that he could potentially die in a second with that ticking time bomb. So I'm really thankful that I knew that it could happen. I feel really bad for people that don't have that time. Like, I had the time to have conversations that I might not have otherwise had. So, anyway. It's weird, but I've said there is some value, I think, in knowing that your time is limited, and we all live like we're not going to die.
So let me pose this question before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
If you knew the time and the place that you were going to die, would you want to know?
Yes.
No.
I'd like it rough.
I said exact.
An estimate, a picture of.
No, I think there would be some value in knowing it roughly, because, like, let's say you have maybe 3 months. That might be a different animal. A lot of people are given that news. Like Julie's grandma, they were like 6 months without treatment, and she ended up living just about 10 years because she went through 2 really extensive surgeries at the James and experimental chemo. That's the value of a research hospital, of course, is all the actual research going on. So they tried different things with her, and it worked. And so when the doctors would come in, they would bring in, at a research hospital, they're bringing in, all of the students as well. And the doctor would be like, this one's an outlier. She's a statistical outlier. 4 years is typical with stage 4 ovarian cancer. But again, back to the family knew.
Yeah.
Like, we're on borrowed time. We're going to change how we interact.
Prioritize things a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though, you and I had a conversation earlier because of where I spent my day with my grandmother and my family. If we could somehow put in a pill form that feeling of not who do you want to sail into the sunset with, not who do you want to go to Disney World with, not who do you want to hang out and have a good time with, but in the hardest time of your life, who do you want to be there mourning with? And they're probably the most important people of your life. If you could take a pill that would emotionally reset you to that moment, it would probably fix 99% of the arguments we have with the people we love and care about the most, that for whatever reason we let ourselves get in the way of communicating to. Because I'm going to tell you right now, today, and what I've seen my family do is just an incredible connection, collaboration. Nobody had any negative to address, not even mention, and it was just forgiveness, love, and peace, and the right way my grandma wanted to see her family come together. And it's like, man, that that idea, holding on to that moral, that importance is so powerful to how we would interact with each other. Because you and I may argue about something, but if I know I got one more month with you, that argument doesn't mean anything.
Right.
I'm saying, dude, I don't care about the argument. I just want to hear about you. I want to connect with you. I want to talk to you. I want to savor every moment we have together. It's a powerful moment, a powerful idea.
Yeah, there's this balance because if we really did the Tim McGraw song, Live Like You're Dying, if we really did that, the flip side of that coin is you lose productivity.
We're all unemployed.
We're all unemployed. Nobody's going to work. I mean, unless your work
I
is
ran
like...
out of PTO and I got fired.
Unless your work is so life-changing for people.
Right.
Yeah, most people would probably quit.
Yeah.
Tim Prater wouldn't.
Yeah, no, he doesn't quit. Never. Quit. Those colors don't run.
No.
So, kind of like, just like, I don't really want to go into that right now, but like it's...
She always told, like, she would fail me because she said I didn't follow the instructions. Like, I was like, it's hard.
Going through what you guys have went through it's been last month, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, coming off the heels of what we've come off of, obviously, obviously different, a child, but like, you're right. It's those moments in life where you treasure and you don't freak out about the small stuff. Like, you don't sweat the small stuff because
if only we could all live like not hung up on trivial.
Yeah. In the grand
Yeah.
scheme of things, most things are not going to impact us at the end of the day. They may get us upset. They might frustrate us, but at the end of the day, like, do they really matter?
Most of them don't.
Most of them don't. And I know that's something that we will certainly unpack a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think as we continue to get into our podcasts, I know
I'm glad I could bring this one down.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No, I think it's a very humbling and it's a very real thought. So the Bible says 3 times. One of the only things I can think of the Bible repeats 3 times. God opposes the proud and gives grace to the humble. I think it's a humbling thought, and I think that's the best position to be in to reflect on your life, to make any real solid decision. It's from that place of humility. And when you're looking at somebody, like, so for me in the last, let's say 4 years or whatever, my grandfather passed, and then recently my grandmother passed, and they're 2 pillars on both sides of the family. And when you see that level of strength, but then you see the humility in the moment of what happens in life to all of us, it's a great reset. And unfortunately, we live in such a catered to world. To embrace that level of humility and embrace that reset's really hard, because you have to look at yourself in the mirror and realize this is temporary. And if it is temporary, then what do I care about? And when you think about it from that standpoint, at least for me, it helps me reset priorities in a pretty significant way.
For sure. Spot on.
Can't wait to see you in May.
Let's go.
California. California.
Nope, not doing that. Josh, take us out. Quick.
So this is How Stupid People Succeed 2.0. I'm one of your hosts, Josh Cooper. This guy is Jeremy Dunn, and we are back, and we have one of our dearest friends, Michael Augenstein, joining us tonight. Mike, thanks for joining us, big guy.
Thanks for having me. Go out, leave my house.
Leave my home.